Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cool Down Lap podcast presented by Midwest Motorsports. I am Anthony Castor, host of the show, driver of the 8 in the Cup series, and I'm joined with James Johnson, the voice of Midwest Motorsports.
What's up, Ant?
Yeah, not much, man. Just coming in off a great weekend of racing, both in real life and in the sim. Um, how about yourself, man?
I agree, man. I was with all the racing too, man, and spent a lot of time in the broadcast booth, and also spent a lot of time watching the TV. Um, Incredible weekend of racing, man. If you're not a race fan after this weekend, I don't. You got to need to check your blood pressure.
That it was. So we'll go ahead and hop into it with this week in motorsports. So James, you want to go ahead and lead us off? Go ahead.
Well, there's a couple of big elephants in the room, but I'll talk about the little elephant, which was the IndyCar race. I love open wheel fan. Um, I'm a big open wheel fan, and um, I thought the racing was good. It's a typical street course with the big open wheels, and they had rain in the morning of the race, so the track got green, and it was caution plagued. The first half of the race, there were more yellow laps than green laps, but once all the riffraff got out and people stopped taking each other out and realized that you have to go, you have to give a gap in order to get some racing going. Um, I thought it was a pretty good race. Of course, it came down to fuel mileage, but as it always does, and Scott Dixon is the master at fuel mileage. And in Chevy's backyard for Honda to win, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a great race. I like the different tire combinations, although it seems that the greens were just as fast as the blacks when the track was green, and it ended up being a lot of short runs. So that kind of stuff you can't predict, and I think that's what opens up the door to a good race is when the unpredictable happens and the cream rises to the top, when you can change your strategies on the fly and know your driving abilities and your team's capabilities and maximize it, and then keep an eye on your competition to know what they're doing and how to put them in checkmate. So I like the Indy race. I know there's a lot of people that disagree, but yeah, street racing, man. What can I say?
Yeah. Uh,
Especially after Indy. I mean, this is still the month of May just ended, and they're still going full on week after week. So hats off to them for not slowing down.
yeah, the IndyCar stuff's going strong. I'd love to see what the viewership rating was following the Indy 500, see if it dropped dramatically versus everything else, because that is kind of like their Super Bowl or their Daytona 500. So I'd be interested in seeing how that looks. But on the NASCAR side of things, man, they were all over the place. Portland for Xfinity, Worldwide Racing Center, and trucks and Cup. Corey Heim looks like Superman out there in that truck, basically
Yeah, he
winning,
does.
I believe, what, his fourth race this season.
Incredible. He's a talent. I did catch something on the broadcast though about uh, him being playing a big part in the development of the cars and testing in the sim room, and that he's getting a lot of sim hours. So I think that's pretty cool, and it's obviously, I think, helping him. Obviously, it's helping him. But it just goes to show that the you can really learn a lot in the sim room if that's true.
Oh yeah, you hear so much about how the teams don't really get to actually practice at the tracks anymore. It's all done in the sims, so it's got to be pretty accurate if they're shelving their practice time um, for sim time. So it's interesting, but yeah, Corey Heim ended up winning the Truck Series race, which started in a rain delay. Pretty interesting. And
Gateway's an
just
awesome track, by the way. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Ant, but man, there's some racing. They were 4 wide a couple of times, for multiple laps and just lots of different lines that you could run. And a couple kids, got over their head a little bit and backed it in, and um, crossover moves. I thought the side by side racing at Gateway was great.
Yeah, I mean that track widened out quite a bit in both trucks and cup. Um, but yeah, I mean you can't discount that racing out in Portland either. I mean, there was some hard racing going on there between some of the other competitors, and seeing Ed Jones come in, finish in the top five, and SVG get his first Xfinity win, which everybody kind of knew going into it that this was going to be a really good track for him. But um, it was a good race to watch. A lot of cars looked like they got tore up, but um, congrats out to SVG on that first win. So they're out in Sonoma next week, I believe. So maybe he can pull off a back to back.
Yeah, quite possible. I mean, I agree with you on Shane Van Gisbergen, but it was. I don't think it was a guarantee, man. I mean, with AJ Allmendinger in there and Justin Allgaier's a darn good road racer. Um, you know, Josh Berry sat on the pole, right? Was that wrong? No,
I
no,
think
he's Cup. What am I
it
talking
was
about? Not Josh
Mayer,
Berry.
Josh Mayer is
Yes,
out on the pole, I believe,
Sam Mayer.
or Sam Mayer. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there were guys with speed out there. And Shane messed up a couple of restarts. He went from restarting in the lead to like seventh or eighth at one point, and had to work his way back. He went off roading, but I mean, just to see him slide it in there and then uh, go out, use the side road off the track and cut it across the grass. I mean, it was absolutely incredible racing on. Um, and these cars are solid rear axle cars. Down in Australia is all independent suspension with the supercars and the cup car, and um, yeah, dude, just incredible car control. But at the same time, he's doing all that, pushing so hard, and um, his total car control while saving it too. Saving some of his car for the end, and when it mattered, well, he drove it like he stole it, and nobody could catch him. It was incredible.
Yeah. And then the cup race, of course. It kind of looked like Christopher Bell's going to run away with it, and then his engine's starting to blow or come apart, and then you think Ryan Blaney has it, and the fuel man was out, didn't shake enough fuel out of the canister, so Austin Cindric comes away with his second win of his career and in the Cup Series. So yeah, it's a good day for, well, mixed results for Penske. It was going to be a great day for them with their three cars in the top 10, but um, yeah, they'd be happy coming away with a win regardless. But that was an interesting race to watch.
Incredible. Again, super 3 wide, 4 wide. You got Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch getting into it. Yeah, I mean, the fuel that splashed on the ground when they pulled out the gas can, could have made the difference for Ryan Blaney. Less than a coffee can's worth of fuel. Um, Man, you got to feel for him, but good for Austin Cindric to be there when it mattered. I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either. When he started running out of gas, I was looking to see if Hamlin was going to run out or a couple other people. But it just happened to be that the gas man didn't shake the can a couple times and get a couple more drops in there.
Right. But which
But
is funny because that's very similar to what happened in the Midwest Motorsports Cup Series, but we can talk about that in a few minutes.
yeah. And lastly, I don't know if you've seen the release notes for all the changes coming to iRacing this week.
Talk to me.
Oh, well, Josh posted a thing up in the, I believe the ad. No, he posted in the general, but we're getting the new Corvette. GT3. We're getting the new Mustang GT3, which I heard is loud, which would be great to hear over the monitors and while you're driving it, I'm sure. Um, they're also updating the truck aerodynamic and chassis, so very interested to see how these trucks handle over the next couple weeks with that new update. I'm interested in seeing aerodynamically what they're changing and the chassis. So, I mean, are the tires going to wear different? Is the back end of the truck going to be kind of sliding around more? Interesting things. Definitely going to change how the races are in the truck series, I believe. So, um, they got a bunch of different changes. If you guys haven't had a chance, if you're in the Discord server, hop over to the general, take a look. Josh does a great job at posting up the highlights of what's getting changed, and it also looks like Indianapolis Motor Speedway got another scan, a fresh scan. So
I saw that.
we'll uh we'll have to take a look at that because it looks like it says that the NASCAR Oval is also getting was also updated because of this. So interesting things. I mean, I'll have to dig through everything and look at everything that's been kind of changed, and um I'm looking forward to some of the new changes and want to see when they're going to keep going with that oval refresh and changing more things on the oval side. But a lot of cool things coming to the service.
How do you think it's going to change the trucks?
Oh man, I mean the trucks are very aero dependent. So a lot of people say, you know how it used to be you can go from Xfinity to Cup, and that was the way you climbed the ladder. A lot of people say nowadays your truck aerodynamically handles a lot like your cup car. There's a lot of aero blocking you can do, or passing people requires you to take air off of them. And they say that translates a cup better now than the Xfinity car. So maybe they're tinkering with, I don't know, how the truck handles in the air, dirty air around other vehicles and such. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, it's
Which if they
amazing.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I was just going to say that's amazing that iRacing can make having such a what seems to me to be such a little thing have an impact on the simulation and the side by side racing in a simulator.
If iRacing can crack the code on air
Yeah.
blocking and how that works in a vehicle and get that kind of feedback into the sim. Part of me would be really happy about it, and the other part of me would be really upset.
Well, regarding Indianapolis, the Truck Series doesn't, but the Cup Series is going to Indianapolis. Right now, it says Speedway NASCAR Oval 2009. That's second race in July.
Mhm.
So that's the original scan
Yeah,
of
that's a
the current?
2009 scan.
Okay, Roger. And so they did one 23 or 24, I guess they're calling it.
I think it's 2022.
Okay.
So I guess we'll have to meet up with the other admins and see if we're going to change the configuration. Sorry, the configuration over to the up to date 22 configuration from the 2009.
Oh,
But
good. Just curious.
if we do change that, I'm sure we'll let everybody know so
Oh, yeah.
everybody knows what format to practice. So that's about all I got for the this week in motorsports. How about yourself, bud?
Yeah, I think we'll wait for NASCAR to show their hand on the waiver thing before we really talk about it more. The Kyle Larson waiver. I don't think there's anything that you and I can say that hasn't been said already that everybody hasn't heard already. So to keep from boring everybody, we'll just move along. But you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be glued to the screen to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, with that waiver, nobody knows kind of where it's going to go. Everybody's leaning towards him getting it, but I guess we'll see. If I had to put money down, we'll probably hear something tomorrow. But then again, NASCAR's probably milking the heck out of this for trying to get the fan base riled up and get more people invested in the sport to see what happens. It's like a drama. I think Dustin Reinstedt will say it best. It's the drama era of NASCAR.
Yeah. Well, drama. People come back to watch and pay attention to the drama.
Yep,
Can't blame
they,
them.
they sure do.
Uh-huh.
So we'll go ahead and hop into. We're going to start off with the road series this week. All right, James.
Sure.
So if you want to go ahead and take it away, I believe you guys were in Bathurst last week.
That's right. Mount Panorama, Australia. What a race, man. I mean, huge, huge track. Over 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Um, and just incredible fun. Um, especially for the lead. I mean, as a broadcast, we try to scroll back and catch a little bit of everybody, but the racing up front was such an incredible race that we had to stay focused on the battle in the front. And boy, was it! First of all, it was our final endurance race of three endurance races, so the final 100-minute endurance race, and um, so we're looking at two pit stops. We had 28 cars enter the race and grid up. And right off the bat, it was the top three or four, the standard Brian Coxon, Michael Odell, Josh Bloom, and Jason Phillips. Kind of got off to a pretty good lead. Jesse Coffey was hanging in there for the first 10 or 15 minutes, but the class of the field was definitely Brian Coxon, Michael Odell, and Jason Phillips. Brian Coxon in the McLaren, Michael Odell in the Aston Martin, and Jason Phillips in the AMG Mercedes. So, and Josh Bloom was also in a Mercedes. He ended up spinning out coming out of one of the S's and couldn't really restart clean, so he decided to call it a night. Um, but the top three carried on, and all the way to the second pit stop, Michael Odell, Brian Coxon, and Jason Phillips, you could throw a blanket on them the whole entire race through both pit stops. By the time the third pit or second pit stop came around, Brian Coxon and Michael Odell broke away from Jason Phillips. Jason Phillips stopped about 4 or 5 laps earlier than Brian and Michael, and when they came out, he was probably 5 or 6 seconds back and just a little bit out of touch. But Brian and Michael went back and forth. They went side by side for the first half of the lap. It was absolutely incredible. And then on the last lap, Michael Odell makes a move on Brian Coxon and takes over the lead. They come across the line like point 0.3 apart from each other. After 100 minutes, 1 hour and 40 minutes, they were on the same second, like
That's pretty insane right there.
side by side. Yes, it's ridiculous. So props to them. Michael Odell with the win. Congratulations, Michael Odell. You, sir, win. There was a battle of the admins with our buddy Steve Hansel and Justin Glickner for several laps. And shout out to JT. Justin Thaler finished seventh. So the final order: Michael Odell, Brian Coxon, Jason Phillips, then Jesse Coffey, Ty Williams was the first AM driver. CJ Barzak finished fifth in class, sixth overall. Justin Thaler, Niles Kula, Ian Bakaitis, Andrew Willis rounded out the top 10. John Daniels, honorable mention, got 11th. And Justin Glickner, 12th. So Glickner came out ahead. Dustin Reinstedt, 14th. I'm scrolling through. Steve Hansel, there he is. Further down, let's just say. But it was fun to watch and pretty incredible for the final 100-minute race at Mount Panorama in the GT4 class. Next week, I think this week is I believe we're racing. Let's see. Hang on.
I think this week's an off week.
Yeah, it's an off week. Thank you. And
I don't think any fun race has been announced just yet. I believe the admins are talking about what they can do. I think JT's out this week, so he won't be posting anything. But it'd probably come from one of the other admins. Uh, Going back to Panorama, James, a was there any people that got collected in the downhills or going up the hills, anything like that?
yes, a couple people did lose it, shall we say? Um, well, we talked about Josh Bloom. He got crossed up, and again, it's really hard to know when to rejoin because the cars are coming at you so fast, and if you're facing the wrong direction, like Josh Bloom was, chances are you're going to get in somebody's way and get clobbered and T-boned and maybe ruin, two or three people's race. But I saw Walker McNulty doing the Austin Powers, go forward, go back an inch, go forward an inch, go back an inch, go forward an inch. I saw Walker McNulty do that. Um, and there were a couple other, smaller spins, but um, there were only two, I think, that ended up leaving the world. So all in all, I think it would be call it a success.
Yeah. It sure seems like those Road Series guys. Every time we're on here, we're talking about a close finish. So, I mean, these guys, as this season winds down or when it winds down, they all need to pat themselves on the back. That's a hell of a level to be competing at when you guys have such a close finish every week.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the top three or four guys, you're right, are absolutely incredible. So looking at the standings, there's 25 points, which is one position separating the top two, Brian Coxon and Jason Phillips. Michael Odell is further back, just 300 points, but really that's only six positions. So he's got a little bit of work to do, but with three races left, anything is possible. So that's for the pro. Um, so definitely up for grabs, but only pretty much only between the top three. And in the AM standings, um, Ian Bakaitis and Ty Williams are about 600 points apart. So again, that's six or eight positions. But again, there's battles up and down the field for the midfield. We're fighting for bragging rights, right? So every battle really matters. And there's 25 points separating drivers all the way down. Every week there's somebody going up and somebody going down. Sometimes somebody will go up two and somebody go down two, but there's lots of movement every week between 8th and 15th for sure.
Yeah. Um, all right, we'll go ahead and transition into the trucks, man. Uh, Looks like Dustin ended up winning that race. I got to talk to the admins a little bit, kind of ask them their thoughts on how the race played out and everything, being our first non-super speedway race and uh, our first race with the actual new format where we get comp caution and everything. And it sounds like it went green. Like the truck race sounded like it was green for I don't know, probably 90% of the race.
Yes, it was awesome. It was awesome. If you're not a truck racer in this league, you're missing out on some great racing, especially now, like you say, with the new rules. And this was the first race that's not a super speedway, so maybe it's early to tell, but there were four cautions for 9 laps, 104 total race laps. So, less than 10% of the laps, and one of those was comp caution, remember?
Yeah.
So, and no points awarded for that. But there were 81 of the 104 laps to finish the 101 lap. Sorry, 101 laps. Um, so with 81 laps to finish the race were green. So after the comp caution, it went green the whole way. So if you don't know your fuel number and you don't know how long or how to conserve your tires, then you better start figuring that stuff out for the rest of the season because that's what it's going to take. We're going to see lots of long green flag runs as we go around these different tracks. Even on short tracks, I bet we're going to have long green flag runs with a 12X being an end of line start, no qualifying. So I think those rules so far are showing that they're doing the right thing with 81 laps of green after the comp caution. So
Yeah, just the ability to bring in green flag pit stops, I feel is
yep.
going to be the biggest pro for me because green flag pit stops can turn a race over on its head when somebody pulls in, either speeds in the pits or misses their box, or uh,
Yes.
yeah, they sit in the pits too long, or they don't get up to speed getting off, so they lose that
Yes.
fraction of a second. It's gonna be fun to watch this play out, but we'll run through Kansas real quick. So, did Dustin start on the pole? Do you recall?
He did.
Oh, so
Yep.
he kind of ran away with it from the start.
Oh, kinda. But there was a cycle through where he, I think one of the early cautions he came in and cycled back out to the front. But he led 85 of the 100 laps. But that really doesn't tell the story of the race because Ty Williams was right behind him the whole time. And I think Ty could have pressed the issue if he thought it would have mattered. But I think he knew that it really didn't matter. At the end of the race, remember they had long, long green flag runs. He was only 2.3 seconds back, 2.8. So, um, like you said, to your point, and all those little things make such a difference from coming off of, turn three or turn two, coming down the backstretch, getting lined up for your pit entry, going through the corner, knowing when to slow down, when to hit the apron, when to call your pit entry so you're not being distracted by trying to feel the car as you're slowing it down, getting it slowed down right on that speed limit line, not losing time. Like you said, and then hitting your box and then coming up through the gears right. But not only that, even like timing your fuel runs to coincide with your tire wear, as you eat up a tire or, you know, overcook a, a couple of laps, racing with somebody, your tires wear out. Okay, do you stop early, get new tires so you're not losing every lap? Or do you ride it out and then put new tires on when you're all the way out of gas? And so that little time that you lose or gain with those just the little fundamental things make the difference in winning or losing.
Yeah, and I can tell you from racing with him, Dustin practices his pit entry, and he has that stuff basically down to a science by the time the green flag
Yeah.
starts to roll. And I've seen him make up seconds on pit road, or pull away a lead by seconds on pit road just by going in and hitting his marks both on the pit road and off. So, um, kudos to the truck guys. That's a heck of a way to start the season with so much of a green flag run at the first track. That's not a super speedway, and I'm hoping to see more of this because uh, the trucks. You guys are what, at a 40 truck field? You guys were at.
Yeah, good point. It was 38.
Yeah,
38 trucks started the race, I think. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, and I think they all finished. Where's the
and
number? Oh, there it is. Those are all awards. Yeah, 38 trucks.
and they all finished.
They were all running at the end. Yes.
Man, now that's what I like to hear. That's
Around
a
Gateway, mile and a half Gateway. Yeah.
that's well, Kansas, but that's
I'm
a
sorry, Kansas, Kansas. I say Kansas.
yeah, no, you're good. That's a accomplishment there.
Yeah.
Kudos to you truck guys, the ones who, I mean, even if you're a lap down or so, stick it out, get that experience, and get yourself ready for the next race, and get those 10 bonus points too, finishing the race. So great job to all you truck drivers. Keep up the clean racing, and I mean, it's only going to get better from here as long as you guys keep putting in the work and keep practicing. So good job, truck drivers.
And with all those EOLs after Daytona, there were quite a few that finished the race with 0 incidents in the truck series. So I'm counting now. I'm looking at least 10,
Yeah, and
12.
I seen nobody went over 12x for the Kansas race. So
Correct. Everybody's qualifying next week.
yeah, I think everybody kind of figured out real quick that it's no good to start in the back when you're a fast car, fast truck.
Yep.
Well,
A week off, and then we come back next week.
yeah, it's trucks also have a week off. And then we come back. I think they go to, is it Vegas maybe?
I'm sorry, it is Texas
Texas. I don't know why I had Vegas on my mind, but yeah, like, off to Texas. So, uh,
at night.
ooh.
Yes, sir. Another 101 lapper. 2 weeks.
So yeah, so truck drivers, be on the lookout. I'm going to talk to some of the other admins and see if we can't get something up this weekend just for fun and get everybody kind of participate and have a little fun with it. So, good racing, guys. Get your off weekend, and we'll see you guys at Texas in the Truck Series. So, with the Kansas race in the rearview mirror here, we'll look at the points. Looks like, oh, we have a tie for first.
2 races, 2 winners.
Yeah, Mark Cochran and Justin Thaler are tied for first.
Check it out.
Yeah, looks like our top 10 consists of Mark and Justin. And then I guess we'll call it third place Nick Asselin, fourth Sean Happick, and fifth Josh Anderson. And then from there we have just a couple notes here. Eric Thaler following up in sixth. Dustin pulling himself up in eighth. And it's looking like it's so far in a second race. We'll see how everything shakes out, but it's looking close. See how long it takes Dustin to rocket up there to the top three.
Early days, but I mean, everybody's beatable. We saw what happened to him in the Cup race. Of course, you don't want to wish bad luck on anybody, but you got to run the races still. So um, everybody can be beat.
Yeah, it just looks like we'll have to pay somebody to go out there and disturb the internet on Dustin a couple weeks.
I don't know. That's
So,
funny. It can be beat on the track, I think, too.
oh yeah, he has his moments. So going to the Cup Series was also at Kansas. I ended up walking out of there with that win. Um, I think a lot of luck had to play into it and a strategy, but what do you think of the race, James?
Oh man, what a dude! Again, I'm getting excited just talking about it, sitting here. After we got through the first couple of cautions and everybody got kind of settled down, we had long green flag runs with green flag pit stops at the end also. So shout out to all you Cup Series guys too. I loved the race. I loved watching it. I loved calling it. Uh, the green flag runs again with pit stops played out, but it was all about the fuel mileage. Um, I thought it was absolutely incredible. I mean, so you're getting about 32 to 30, well, 28 to 32 miles a gallon, and we're going to 134. You ended up stopping at lap 100. Congratulations on the win. Did you know that ahead of time? And how much fuel did you have to save to make it 34 laps?
So I was, in the words of Bon Jovi, living on a prayer on that last one. I was like, you know what, we're just gonna roll the dice on this and send it. Worst case scenario, got pit for a splash with like 5 laps to go, but I was saving a ton, man. Um, Basically with 10 laps, with 10 laps to go in the pit cycle before last, I just started clutching it and drafting off of Eric, just trying to save as much fuel as possible. And then once he dipped in for the pits, I went around one more time. And after that, I watched my black box to tell me, like, hey, you have 30, I think it said like 33 laps till empty. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I started stepping on the gas, and then I noticed that the numbers started going down a lot faster. And I'm like, well, now I'm like 3 laps. I need 3 laps of saving. So I started clutching going into turn one, about halfway to three-quarters of the way through the corner, letting out of the clutch, and then clutching into turn three, halfway, three-quarters in, letting out. And slowly started to build that lap number back up. And a couple of the other admins were talking. They're like, "Yeah, I don't think anybody in the front's gonna be able to make it on fuel." And I was right at the money. I didn't want to say anything because I was like, I ain't jinxing myself. And it was a lot of saving. I was still saving on that last lap, coming around, and just so happened to run out of fuel at the checkered flag. So it was it everything just played out right.
Because you were chasing Samia at the time. Mike Samia came in just 2 laps before you, and he had, like, I was in the stream on the edge of my seat, jumping up and down, banging on the desk, screaming, "Can he make it? Can Mike Samia do it? It'll be a 36 lap fuel run if he does." He's got Antcaster at 9 seconds. Antcaster's at 7 seconds. And now Antcaster is at 5 seconds. Can he do it? What's Mike Samia going to do? And you got down to like 3 seconds. And finally, Samia came into pit. Um,
Yeah,
that was all she wrote.
I wanted to keep the pressure up on him and
Right.
not let that gap sit because I didn't want him saving any fuel. If I could, I wanted to keep him in the throttle as much as I could to try and get him to force him to keep that gap or some sort of a gap. But I think he got to the point where he realized that he wasn't going to make it regardless of whether he put his foot down or if he is clutching it. Because I watched the stream and I noticed that you went into his in car, I think, as you were watching him go around leading those laps, and I seen him. He started off, he wasn't clutching, but he was going through the corners a little slower. And then later in that run, he started clutching, and I'm thinking like, oh, yeah, he wouldn't have made it. So I
Right.
think he came to that realization. He's like, yeah, I just got to pit, otherwise I'm going to be out of fuel. So everything just kind of worked out great. The incidents in this race, I ended up, I think, with a quick 8x. I ended up getting wrapped up in that first accident on lap one, gave me
Yep.
4,
Yep.
and then there was another incident. I want to say probably like 15, 20 laps later that I ended up tagging John Bates, I believe. I just
Oh,
barely
yeah.
clipped him. Yeah, and it gave me another 4x, and I was like, we still have 70 laps in this race or 80 laps in this race. I can't have contact with anybody at this point. So I was like, I gotta get to the front. So I just tried to get around people as fast as I could, as cautiously as possible. I know there's a lot of people who kind of ran out of like spareable incidents early in the race like me. So I think that kind of helped with cleaning up some of the racing and
Sure.
getting more green flag pit stops in.
Well, there was a lot of good racing everywhere in the pack. I mean, when you were in the middle of the pack, I know you were side by side with Huffman for quite a few laps, 2 or 3 times in the race, and I think Aaron Allroyd in the '73, rocking a new Pepsi paint, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, he was up front several times and racing with Huffman and Thaler and you, um, and Samia.
Yeah, there's a point where Polaroid was what, third?
Yeah, I think he got up to 2nd. Yep.
Yeah, he was putting on a good race, man. There's quite a few people. I know Eric was saying that for some reason he just can't get this track down, like the run of it. But he's like the king of Homestead. I feel like the two tracks kind of run the same in a way, but I was just
right up
kind of
on the
surprised
cushion.
that he had issues with it. JT ran a good race. Dustin, I figured he was just going to walk away with it once he got around Ty, and I don't know who decided to go snip
Yeah. Well,
the
I
the
think I
internet
think he
there.
put his water bottle down on the power button of his power strip or something and turned off the router to his internet or uh, something happened with Dustin technical wise. And thankfully stuff like that doesn't happen very often, but hopefully he figured out what it was and make it can can fix it so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, well, fortunately for him, I mean he's a great uh consistent racer, so he'll be able to make up the points difference he had there, and I'm sure he'll be in victory lane before we know it in the cup side. Um, so we'll go ahead and look at the standings following this race as well. Cup is also off next week, guys, or this upcoming weekend. So we'll keep you updated and let you know if anything's going on for a fun run or what to expect this weekend, if anything. Um, so Justin's leading the points here, 88 points total. I'm behind by 10. Trey Purdue is back by 12. Ty 14. Trevor McLaughlin 16. Eric 16. Dustin 16. And Jason Huffman 17. And then you got Nick Aslin and Walker McNulty bringing up ninth and 10th with 21 and 23 respectively.
Yeah,
So
I rode with Trey Purdue for a while. He was having a good run. I'm not sure exactly. I think the timing of his fuel and the tires just kind of didn't play out just right.
yeah, I was actually surprised with, I guess, how the cycles kind of played out in that race because I took tires on lap the 20 competition caution because when I got wrapped up in that first accident, I ended up holding the brakes and spinning, and it scrubbed off 5% on all my tires, which I thought was crazy. But I was like, there ain't no way I'm going to be able to run these to the first cycle. And then I kind of went off cycle of everybody, but it still kind of worked out where I had a set there at the end. So there was a lot of varying strategies in that race. So I'm interested that some people ended up having issues with uh, tire fall off to the point where they couldn't just throw a new set on and go. Do you know by chance what happened to Ty in that race? I seen he got scored in 15th.
It's all about the pit cycles and the fuel. I think
No
he came in
kidding.
and needed a splash at the end, and it was too late. Like he tried to make it, but he had backed off of it so much trying to make it that by the time he did come in, he was outside the top 10. Never saw him
Oh,
again.
yeah, because I know it was him, Justin, and Noel
Right?
were all basically running together.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a surprising one to see.
Yeah. Noah came away with the podium there.
Yeah, Noel came away. It
P2.
looked like he put on a good hard race. Again, everybody, good job. I know we had a shaky start, but good job to everybody. Putting together some green flag runs and making it to where it was a strategy race. So, Cup Series, I believe our next race is in Richmond. So let's see how that plays out. And like I told you in the post race interview, I'm aiming for a top 10, especially with if we can get a 27 car grid or more. A top 10 for me would be perfect.
And to walk away with less than 12x. I think we
Eh,
might see a little bit more than that at Richmond.
yeah, I'm hoping everybody kind of shakes the cobwebs off after a week off and get their wrecks in and practice, and then we can have some clean racing. But wishful thinking. We'll see.
Speaking of practice wrecks, I saw you get into Justin Taylor in the practice session at Kansas there. Looks like you sent him to the spin cycle. He went around about 50 times
Yeah,
coming
well,
up on the apron.
he deserved that. So before that, I was coming out of turn 4, and that jerk decided to put his nose down in there and spin me out on purpose. I know he does this stuff.
Aha.
And he comes over and tells me, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got tight." I know you didn't get tight. So
He
that was
he
my
says it
moment when
with a laugh and a chuckle. He's laughing under his breath. "Oh, I got tight. Sorry. Tight. Sorry about that, Aunt."
uh-huh. Yeah, so I showed him. I seen him sitting in the middle of that track on the way out of the corner, and I was like, "Yep, he would do the exact same thing to me," and I just waylaid right into him.
Kablamo. That was
Exactly.
funny. Funny to
It's
watch.
it's practice. I'd rather get it out of the way there, and then whenever we get into the race, me and him always try to race each other respectfully. So practice, it's no rules. It's like a cage match.
There you go. Well, it's fine. We
So
can talk about him when he's not here, so maybe that'll encourage him to come next time.
yeah, that or I'm gonna get a bunch of messages in Discord.
That's right. Well, I want to
Well,
say thanks to everybody for tuning in, watching on the Rivenvale stream, and watching replays later on. Thanks a lot, guys. It means a lot. It keeps us motivated to do the broadcast and um, keep sending those messages. Don't forget to like the videos on YouTube, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything to hit the like button, but it definitely gives us positive feedback. So thanks to everybody out there for watching the streams.
oh, just to piggyback off of what James just said, subscriptions. If you have a Amazon Prime account, you can use your Prime account for a free subscription. So that gives you one free subscribe, and you can use it monthly. So if you want to, go ahead and drop it on the Ravenvale channel and give them a subscription. So I think that's about all we got this week, man.
That's all I got.
All right, y'all. Well, we'll catch you all next week, and everybody stay safe and have a good week.
Don't forget to stay in your lane.